Sarah, it's very good to see you, and it's wonderful to be able to introduce you to the diocese after all this time. I'm sorry for the ridiculous time it's taken with all these processes that have to be gone through. But anyway, it's wonderful that we can now reveal you to our wider diocesan family. We're looking forward to working with you on building the kingdom here in the Diocese of Hereford. But just to kick off, I mean, tell us a little bit about your family background. Tell us a little bit about your spiritual journey and how you've ended up here.
Well, I was brought up actually non-Christian, but when I was first married and expecting our first child, something in me suggested that possibly going along to church might be the right thing to do, and at the time it was completely baffling, but I think I know what that was now. And I went along to church, and in order to keep myself going to church, I joined the choir, and thereby opened up actually the beginning of what has been the most phenomenal adventure, because in that little tiny rural church I met friendship, fellowship, I've now come to know it as, in faith. I met music, which of a thought that I hadn't really encountered before. I met a vicar who was just extraordinary in drawing and teaching and loving his flock. And that particular rural vicar in that tiny community brought me to Jesus, basically. And so it's been an evolving situation ever since, right the way through when working with him on one occasion, and he said, do you think you ought to think about being a theologian?
Well, thank you for that. And actually, you'll find lots of vicars like that in the Diocese of Hereford, for which we're very, very grateful. And it's a wonderful group of people that you'll be coming to work with here. But tell me about what drew you to this post in particular, because at the moment, of course, you're canon missioner in Peterborough Cathedral. But what was it that drew you to this step to be the dean here?
Quite a few things, actually. The first thing, of course, is it's a cathedral post. I am working in the cathedral now. I have come to know and love the traditions and the ways of cathedrals. A very different city. Peterborough is a very different type of city to Hereford, but nonetheless, the role of a cathedral in a city and the potential for a cathedral to be something extraordinary for the city is always exciting, I think. The other thing about this post is the nature of Hereford and South Herefordshire and South Shropshire. My ministry before I came to Peterborough was predominantly rural. I've told you already about that very rural start, but I've had rural parishes myself. But before that, I was very much involved in the agricultural world. And also in small towns. So suddenly here is a post that offers all the things that I have loved and engaged with all through my ministry, all rolled up into one.
Thank you. So, I mean, and what is it that particularly nourishes you now in your spiritual journey?
I find the cathedral daily offices extraordinarily helpful. That pattern, that familiarity, that abiding in the word and in the lectionary, going through the Psalms every day, going through the readings, not being able to avoid any of it. What you might call the beauty of holiness, which is such a gift to the church in a time when we tend to bring everything down to very human levels, and cathedrals and some churches still have that gift of the beauty of holiness and an ease of pointing to God, which I think is an absolutely rare thing today. And we have that gift. And for me, just to walk into the building where I know at Peterborough, it's 900 years of worship in this one building, all those prayers, all those tears, all that joy in this great pageant of humanity that's gone through. It's all there in those buildings, and we have such a gift to offer.
Thank you. Thank you. And of course, I would say this, of course, we have a rather wonderful music team in the cathedral, which we're very, very proud of, quite rightly. And it's wonderful that we can work together to share the good news.
Absolutely.
Now, Hereford's a very rural place, as you've already described. Tell us a little bit, though, about your background in rural affairs, because you've had some extensive involvement, not just in rural parish ministry, but also in your working life as well.
Yes, one of the best and most exciting periods of my life and work really was when I was called to run an organisation called FCN. It used to be Farm Crisis Network. It's now the Farming Community Network. I know that Herefordshire Rural Support Network work very closely with FCN, I had a lot to learn when I started there. I didn't know one end of a cow from another, frankly, but just working with, it was particularly pastoral care within the farming community at a time when it was particularly stretched and particularly under pressure, was a phenomenal privilege. And much of my ministry ongoing from that has been guided by what I learned in that organisation. I have an enormous heart, although I don't come from a farming background myself, an enormous heart for agriculture, and hope that I managed to do some good when I was in that post.
Yeah, I mean, tell us a little bit about your sort of biological family, husband, children, and what they're doing.
I have a husband, Richard. It's going to get very confusing.
Very confusing, yes. Well, my predecessor was called Richard. He'll have to be Richard III. I'm Richard II, so he'll have to be Richard III.
I'm not sure the haircut's going to work,
no,
but
right,
anyway. But no, he's a mechanic and restorer of classic cars. He is basically retired and wants to do some work on our own cars now. My daughter, Alice, is in her mid-20s now. She's a musician. And Ed is in his final year of studying to be a vet. We're secretly hoping that he might decide to join a practice in Herefordshire.
Well, yes, I'm sure that's, yes. Well, that would be lovely, wouldn't it? Nice to have them close by. All of my children live in London, so it's quite a hike. Fortunately, quite close together in London, but nonetheless, it's still quite a long way. It does help. It does help. Well, I think that's. I think for now, that's probably enough to get us going. I mean, I think it's so good to have you with us, and we look forward to getting to know you, working with you, and with the Cathedral family as we seek to be faithful and fruitful going forward.
Can I just say, I'm really excited to come. I know I've still got a job to do here in Peterborough for another couple of months, but I'm really looking forward to coming and being along with everybody and working out how we be church for the foreseeable future. So thank you for appointing me. I'm very glad to be coming.
Thank you for saying yes. Okay, thank you, Sarah. We'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.